These big things are designed to go through water, and they have these big tires. They're set up anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 feet above the ground, and I describe them as Mad Max. Every single one of our buggies was designed by a guy in a garage. I always ask people when I go talk, I said, who here drinks from an aquifer? And I said, that's a trick question, you all do. And so the more water that you have in the landscape is recharging that aquifer. And that aquifer is what all of us in Southwest Florida need. There's a lot of panthers at Corkscrew.
Still have never seen one in my life.
It took me 364 days to see my first one at Corkscrew.
Is that right? Yeah.
And it was actually 3 cats. It was a mother and 2 subadults.
Oh my God.
There's the famous video of the panther on the boardwalk from pre-COVID. And if you go back and watch the video, you don't know who's more scared, her or the panther. Because the panther wants no part of that person.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Spotlight on Good People, where we shine a light on the humans who are making our world more compassionate, connected, and kind. Now, picture this. There's a place about 30 minutes from here where the cypress trees are 500 years old. Trees so big you can wrap your arms around them. It's the largest strand of old-growth cypress forest left on the planet. And my guest today calls it more of a national park than most national parks. His name is Keith Laakkonen. He also runs Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary. But here's what got me. Keith was the kid who, when everybody else said fireman or astronaut, he said he wanted to be Jacques Cousteau. The kid they had to literally pull out of the swamp because he was neck deep, grinning, going, why would I ever go back to school? 50 years later, he's still got that grin. You'll hear it. We get into Florida Panthers, and Keith will tell you it took him 364 days to see his first one, and that he was shaking when he saw it. And honestly, I came out of this one a little obsessed. Keith put me onto this free app called Merlin. You just hold up your phone, it listens to the birds, and it tells you exactly who's singing. I have not stopped using it, so consider that my gift to you. This conversation reminded me why I love this place, the place we live. Stick around. You're gonna love Keith. Let's get into it. I lived here in 77.
Oh, great.
And I just started this out of, we have so many golden gifts and good people in our community that I just want an opportunity to shine a light on what the goodness
appreciate
is.
That. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
no,
fantastic.
I appreciate what you do. It's special.
Thank you. Yeah.
How did you end up in that career? Like, how does somebody become what you became?
So, as a kid, people would ask me what I want to be, and I said Jacques Cousteau. I was the nerdy kid who loved science, and I always wanted to be, marine biologist Jacques Cousteau, and somehow
I remember. That was on TV, and my father watched it all the time, and I was fascinated with that. Yeah,
Jacques Cousteau, National Geographic, Mutual of Omaha.
Oh yeah.
Marlon Perkins, and then I was going to be Marine, and somehow ended up at UF doing wildlife ecology. I don't remember exactly the set of circumstances that got me there, but it was an incredible education. It was the best decision I ever made.
Florida. Over what was that a specialty at Gainesville then, or was that something that they had a big program for?
Yeah, they're really well known for their wildlife ecology program.
Okay,
it's one of the best in the Southeast. A lot of the major colleges have wildlife ecology programs, and because UF is a land grant, sea grant university, and
what does that mean?
It's that they're funded. That basically the state and the federal actually funds a lot of their research through UF, it's a statewide funded research.
Okay.
And so it's a really solid program. And just being able to be there. And actually one of my jobs I got just because my boss had the same degree and he knew what education I got. So he just hired me. He goes, I know what your training is.
Yeah.
So he pretty much hired me on the spot.
Yeah,
so.
It has that reputation. Yeah.
It has a good reputation.
Now, how about Gulf Coast? Florida Gulf Coast, what are they known for?
Yeah, so they're still. I still feel like they're relatively new because I remember when they were building it.
Yeah, there was nothing there. Yeah,
there was nothing there.
Yeah.
So I got my master's there. I was very interested in policy at the time, which is a very wonky thing. But I was really interested in sea level rise policy because I was working at Fort Myers Beach at the time, and sea level rise is something that a lot of people don't want to think about if you're on a barrier island, but you got to do something about it, and so.
Is that what we saw happen in Fort Myers Beach when the tide came in and just buried those houses?
That's basically what it looks like, except sea level rise is sort of a long-term,
Okay.
slow motion disaster. You know,
Okay.
all of a sudden your beach gets narrower and
creeping.
narrower,
Okay.
and then water's coming out of your storm drains, you know, backflowing from high tides. You've got water in the streets, you know, and then it gets more and more and more. It's a very, very slow, gradual thing.
Okay. So you were studying that, or you
Yeah,
were? Yeah.
it was my interest at the time was sea level rise policy. I don't know why. It is incredibly wonky and nerdy, but you know, I was pretty thrilled that I was able to graduate in my 40s, get my master's degree, and then I worked with my my advisor and actually got my thesis published in a major scientific journal a couple of years ago. So that's
right?
that'll be the first and last publication I do because it is way too hard to publish.
Is it?
Yeah, I have a lot of scientist friends who publish a lot, and it's a lot of work, you know. But I'm thrilled to have one and done.
Yeah. Well, to have a regular job, because you got to manage a lot. You got a lot going on. It's not just you. You're just not working in a lab. for yourself, you know?
Yeah.
To do that and the other and be able to.
Being a full time, you know, biologist and getting a master's degree was definitely a hill, but
Yeah.
I'm glad I climbed it.
Because you wear a lot of hats there. You manage a lot of different types of people.
At a Corkscrew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You know, I'm a biologist by training, but you know, I oversee, you know, over $3 million budget. I oversee, you know, our you know, restoration conservation programs, our education programs, you know, our facilities. We've got a 2.25 mile boardwalk. And you can
Which
imagine,
is amazing. Which is amazing. I absolutely love it. It's one of the, every time I go, I'm like, why don't I come here every week? Why don't I take this walk every week?
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Oh yeah,
It's one of my favorite things.
There's nothing like it, and it's the largest stand of old growth cypress forest on the planet. I mean, we're more national park than most national parks.
That is so cool.
Yeah. And so, you know, and then you got the boardwalk, and then you got facilities, you know, and buildings and vehicles, and you know, your facilities management, and then, you know, we're raising money as a fundraiser, working with development folks on this capital campaign, and so, and then I'm involved in policy stuff, you know, all these other kinds of things, and so, and still get to dabble in the sciences enough, you know, we're talking about restoration, talking about watershed kind of stuff, and so lots of hats.
Is it who's it owned by? Is it its own entity, or
It's owned by National Audubon Society.
Okay.
It was actually, we were established in 1954, and we were established around those big old growth cypress trees. So in the 50s, there was a need for lumber, you know, because it was baby boomers. Plus, we were rebuilding Europe at the time, which a lot of people forget. Cypress is a great wood for it. So in most of the Southeast, they had taken out most of the cypress forest. And so they started in South Florida. They were working from big cypress. They came up through Packahatchee Strand. They were moving up towards Corkscrew, and the community got together and said, hold up, we want to protect this place. So the logger said, okay, we'll give you a year. We'll let you raise the money. Came back in a year. Audubon raised the money. The logger actually donated some of the first land to National Audubon Society. And because of that, you know, we have 500-year-old cypress trees, you know, which is
500-year-old?
Yes. This cypress forest it's perfect. It's an amazing thing. You're seeing what a lot of Florida would have looked like before we got here.
Wow.
You know, so it's really going back in time. And so, yeah, so, you know, we're owned by National Audubon Society, so we're private land. We're private landowners, which conservation land, you tend to think of national parks, state parks, public lands, but ours is private. And it is a sanctuary, so, you know, one of the few ways you can see the sanctuary is to go on our boardwalk, of course, our world-famous boardwalk. 80,000 people a year visit it. And you can also sign up for backcountry swamp walks and things like that. So, but the rest of the sanctuary is a sanctuary.
Backcountry swamp walks. Tell me about that. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, so you can, during the winter when there's water, obviously right now there's not much water, you can actually sign up and you go out on one of our swamp buggies to the site, and you can actually...
Swamp buggies on site?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We have lots of swamp buggies because we need them.
Oh, cool.
And so you ride out a swamp buggy, and then you do a swamp walk with one of our educators, and one of our educators has been there for 25 years. And so these are super dedicated people, and so you can get a chance to actually stand in the swamp. Wow. And it's an amazing experience. People are a little bit worried about it at first, but It's really neat.
Yeah.
The most dangerous thing on the swamp walk is tripping. That's it. And the water is so clear. You know, people have this, you know, they use the word swamp as pejorative.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, there's so much life in there. And once you get out and you actually can see it and understand it and feel it, it's pretty amazing. So swamp walk is like, in my opinion, the best way to see some of Cork's.
Yeah. So you're in the water, you're wading in the water.
You're in the
right there.
water.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hey, let me interrupt for just a second because I've got something for you. If you're watching or listening right now, you're a part of this, the Robert of Philadelphia Spotlight on Good People family. And I don't take that lightly. So I want to give you a gift, not a discount, a gift. And whether you've been to us before or you've never set foot in any of our salons, I'd love for you to come in as my guest. We'll give you one of our signature blowouts. And the part everybody comes back for, our famous head, neck, and shoulder massage, the kind that honestly transforms your entire day. And while we take care of you, you'll have a chilled glass of Prosecco in your hand. On us. Just for being a listener. Now, one important thing, this is my gift to you for right now, this summer. So you've got to claim it by September 30th, 2026. After that, this one wraps up. So if you're catching this in the summer of 2026, don't sit on it. Go claim it today. And hey, if you're finding this episode somewhere down the road and that date's already come and gone, go to that page anyway, because there's always something waiting for good people. That part never changes. Here's all you do. Go to ropsalons.com/goodpeople. That's ROP as in Paul Salons, SALONS.com/goodpeople, all one word. And we'll set the whole thing up. That's it. Thank you for being a part of this. It means more than you know. Now, let's get back to the show. And the swamp buggy actually takes you out to that area?
Yep.
So you get to ride in a real swamp buggy.
Yeah, you get to ride in a real swamp buggy.
So cool.
Yep.
For people who have no idea, the only way I ever knew swamp buggies was the races they used to have, the swamp buggy races, but there's a real reason for having a swamp buggy.
Yeah. It's a needed vehicle. Ours go a little bit slower than those.
Yeah.
I love the swamp buggy races. I've been
Yeah.
there several times. Yeah. So we, basically there's these big things that are designed to go through water, and they have these big tires, and they're set up anywhere from 6 to 8 to 10 feet above the ground. And I describe them as Mad Max. You know, every single one of our buggies was designed by a guy in a garage. You know, and there's very few companies that actually do it.
Right.
But we use them. Everglades National Park uses them. You know, so it is the way to get around, because you have to use a swamp buggy or an airboat or an ATV to get into some of these areas because they are inaccessible. I mean, it's tough going out there in the backcountry.
What time of year is that available for people?
That is primarily December through March.
Okay.
And in April, depending on what the water levels are.
Okay.
And I think our last one did actually go off because we got just enough rain to have a little bit of water out there.
Yeah.
But even if there's no water, you can still actually go out there, and it's a really neat experience because you're in it. Because the boardwalk is amazing, and it's great to see the swamp, but to have the chance to be in the swamp.
Never
to
knew
me
that
is
was
amazing.
available. That
Yeah.
sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Does the area where the boardwalk is does water stay there throughout the year? Is there always water there?
Unfortunately not.
It gets dried up.
It gets dried out. So right now we're in the worst drought in 25 years.
Right. Bad.
So, but part of the other issue is that swamps, they fill up with water, they get dry, and that's a natural cycle. So our staff have been monitoring water levels at the sanctuary for 60 years. We have all this water level data. About 20 years ago, our staff started noticing that it feels like it's getting drier more often and longer and quicker. And so they looked at the data, and sure enough, there was something that happened where they had improved the agencies had improved some drainage. And the additional drainage downstream of us actually is what began over drying the swamp.
From a development.
Actually, it wasn't development. It was actually flood control.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that the Army Corps, or who does it?
It was the counties. It was the water management district. A lot of folks working together.
Okay.
Very, very good project. They definitely controlled flood, but unfortunately, there was a little bit of
Had an impact there.
Had an
Wow.
impact directly on us, and so now the swamp, unfortunately, it's drier than it should be all the time because you have this drainage downstream.
Can that be reversed, or are they reversing it?
Actually, yeah, we're working right now with the South Florida Water Management District, Collier County, Lee County, Village of Estero, and others on a plan where we can actually go in and restore the area and basically do a mini Everglades restoration project is what it'll amount to. So you do that with, I basically say you engineer your way into the situation, you engineer your way out of it. So you can put in some, control structures, some things downstream to stack that water up a little bit. It keeps more water in the system, and that's good for the swamp. But also, I always ask people when I go talk, I said, who here drinks from an aquifer? And I said, that's a trick question. You all do. And so the more water that you have in the landscape is recharging that aquifer. And that aquifer is what all of us in Southwest Florida need. So you keep water in the swamp, it keeps water in our wells, it keeps water in our pipes. It also reduces the risk of wildfires. So that's a really good investment, not only in Corkscrew, but in all of Southwest Florida, because these are the things that, people need. We need, more security from wildfires, and then we need, more water that we can always have available because growth isn't slowing down.
No. You're protected for good, right? Everything that's never getting touched by anything. That's
Correct.
Lifetime protection.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we're very fortunate, and it's not only just the sanctuary, but the sanctuary actually worked in the 80s and 90s to help designate and help the state protect other lands around us. So because of those efforts, the state of Florida, Lee County, Collier County, acquired over 60,000 acres around Corkscrew. And these are areas that people may have heard called Bird Rookery Swamp, Crew Marsh, Flint Pen Strand, and that's a tune of $110 million to help protect basically private property and to help protect that watershed because it's that important. So the success kind of begets success. So you have this intact, watershed. It's the Western Everglades. People think the Everglades is way out east, but we are a part of the Western Everglades and we're what's left of it now.
So that's actually considered a part of the Western Everglades.
Yep.
Wow, I didn't realize that. You mentioned Village of Estero. Do you touch Village of Estero too, or what?
We don't, but our watershed does, and that's the thing is you have to, when you model these areas, and there's all these hydrologic models, which is very complicated, but you have to involve all these other governments because they have their own things. You want to make sure you're not flooding anybody else. If we keep more water in the sanctuary, we need to ensure that the water management district provide the same level of service. So in other words, we don't want to flood anybody, so it's not going to have any negative impacts on people at all.
Okay. Do you have biologists on staff?
Yeah.
So what does a biologist do?
Well, we have several different types of biologists. We have folks in our research program, and they're out there. They're doing monitoring. For example, we do wood stork flights. So we've been conducting those wood stork flights at Corkscrew for probably 30 years. And so during breeding season, our staff gets up in this plane, and they basically circle around these wood stork colonies to count how many birds are nesting. So that's our long-term program there. We're also monitoring vegetation responses, especially in light of where we've done restoration work. We've done a lot of restoration work, so we see how the environment's responding. We're also tracking with wildlife cameras. Everybody can get these game cameras. We're actually tracking the wildlife at the sanctuary. And we have over 1 million pictures that we've looked through over the years. And so we're monitoring our small and medium, all the mammal populations. So that way we have an idea of what's going on. And then our biologists are also out there controlling invasive species, exotic species. They're also monitoring for pythons. That's one of the reasons we have.
Do you have them there?
No, we don't have them there yet.
So they haven't made their way north or west? Or
we've had one 1.5 miles south of us. It was killed on the Immokalee Road. But we have done surveys and we have looked. And actually, we've been working with the python huntress, and she's actually been out there. They have a dog trained to smell for pythons, and so we've been working with them, and they've been out to our property several times and haven't smelled one yet. Okay. So it's probably a matter of time, but that's why we monitor the small mammal populations. Okay. Because when folks in Everglades National Park figured out that where's the raccoons, where's the possums, where all those small mammals, it was too late. They were gone because pythons had taken them out. Wow. So what we've seen with our wildlife images is that our populations are stable and have actually gone up because we have done so much restoration work. Okay. And part of that also includes prescribed fire. So we do quite a bit of prescribed fire. Just a lot of science and research and monitoring. And there's always something interesting going on at the sanctuary. Our staff are working hard all the time.
What mammals are on property?
So Of course, we have everything from, because we burn so much, we've got a lot of deer, and because of that, we have a lot.
Why does that correlate to deer burning?
So if you're burning these areas, it's basically growing back new growth, which is going to support deer. And it's going to support other mammals.
Which is why fire is part of the cycle. That's necessary.
Right. Which also supports things like Florida panthers. We have...
Because the panthers eat the deer.
Panthers there's a lot of panthers at Corkscrew.
Really?
Yes.
I still have never seen one in my life.
It took me 364 days to see my first one at Corkscrew.
Is that right? Yeah.
And
what was that moment like?
I had only seen one before, and it was actually 3 cats. It was a mother and 2 subadults.
Oh my gosh.
It was very intense.
Yeah.
And the first time I ever saw one, I literally was shaking.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
And so we have at one point, the Fish and Wildlife Commission, they had a panther tracker, and he said that Corkscrew was the pantheriest place in the state of Florida.
Really?
And there's one spot where he said he could take anybody to see a panther, it'd be that one location. And there's a game camera there that captures a panther an average of every 8 days.
Wow.
And one of our staff, she's been there 17 years. She's seen Florida panthers over 60 times.
Wow.
Because they have a lot of habitat back there. They have lots of deer. So that's one of our big mammals.
Yeah.
Very charismatic. There's the famous video of the panther on the boardwalk from pre-COVID. Yes. And if you go back and watch the video, you don't know who's more scared, her or the panther. Because the panther wants no part of that person.
Yeah.
And so we have quite a few panthers around. We have bear. We have lots of small mammals. We also have foxes. Gray fox.
Foxes too. I've never seen a fox in Florida.
Gray fox mostly.
Really?
Now,
how big do they get?
They're about that big. They're about the size of a small to medium dog.
Okay.
Long tail. We have coyotes. Lots of.
So there are coyotes. Yeah. Okay. I hear them in my neighbor. I live off Livingston, and there's by the county park, and I can hear them sometimes like howling at night or some crazy ritual that they do.
Yeah, they're out there. And actually last night, because I live in Golden Gate Estates, my Blink camera actually captured one in my backyard.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they're around.
Those.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's really neat.
So also birds. One thing I remember specifically last time my wife and I were there, we were seeing these beautiful birds that I'd never seen here. Mm-hmm. It's real little ones, but colorful and just...
warblers. Yeah, warblers.
Is that what they are?
Yeah. Migration is just wrapping up now. So, so our birds have just come from South America, Central America, Cuba, and so they're moving all the way through Florida, and they're going up north to breed. And so Corkscrew is a great stopover point both in the spring and the fall.
Okay.
The fall, I think, is a little bit better birding because the birds are taking their time. They've already bred, so they're taking a little bit more time coming through. So, fall can be very good for birds at Corkscrew. And
it's just a stopover point for them. They don't stay.
They're in there. They're getting some food. They're hanging out maybe a day or two, and then they're off.
That's amazing.
And I'm a huge birder, and so I've been going to Corkscrew as a birder I've been a member for a long time, and actually I've been going to Corkscrew since I was a kid. These little warblers are just fantastic, and they have an amazing life journey that they're doing. And
those little birds go all that way.
Yep.
Wow.
And you think one of our other migratory birds is swallowtail kites. You can probably see these. If you're at Corkscrew, come out a few times to visit, you will see one. And they're breeding here because they come from Central and South America to breed. So that's another migratory bird.
What's the name of that bird?
It's called a swallowtail kite.
Okay.
It's this white and black raptor, and they've got this big forked tail.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yes, I've seen those.
And you can watch those guys fly for an hour, and they'll barely flap their wings. I mean, they're just masters of the sky.
Aerodynamic or something.
Very aerodynamic. Yeah. And so they have nesting in the sanctuary, so they're breeding right now too. So
they're not here all the time either. They're
not here all the time. Yep. I believe I heard once that the indigenous people used to call them the hurricane birds because they leave in August before we get most of our hurricanes. So
wow.
So they'll be out of here before that.
I thought I've seen one of those birds go up to like a fruit tree and just pull a whole piece of fruit off. Is that possible? Would they do that, or
so swallowtail kites they are really good hunters. They occasionally will grab lizards out of trees.
Oh, they're meat eater carnivores too. Yeah.
They eat a lot of dragonflies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll eat a lot of those things.
So they're not a fruit one.
That would be. There's a lot of those warblers and other species like
Yeah, we'll
that.
go
The
for that.
neotropicals, they love those fruits though, for sure.
Okay, but these birds are
Yeah.
they're birds of prey almost.
Yeah, they are birds of prey. Exactly. That's what
that's
they are.
cool.
Yep.
I love to see that. And then what other? How about the eagles, hawks?
Yeah, we've got several species of hawks at the sanctuary. Red-shouldered hawks is our most common. If you go out there right now, I almost guarantee you'll hear or see one because they're breeding, and they're loud.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And they've got some chicks coming out. So there's also other species of hawks in the area. Red-tailed hawks. We have a few of those around, and then during the winter, there's some other species that overwinter here. And then of course we've got osprey, around. Bald eagles. There's a few out there, not too many.
Mm-hmm.
And our most numerous raptor is actually vultures. There's a lot of them out there. And especially, this time of year, if the water gets really low and those fish start dying,
that's where they
vultures are our best friend.
Yeah.
They're cleaning up the fish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we need them. Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So the thing about the vulture, when you see the vulture over the sky, they're looking for something that's dead on the ground. Then it's real.
Yeah, and turkey vultures can actually smell a corpse under the ground.
Really?
From the sky. Yeah, so they're very amazing. Yeah, what they can actually do. Yeah.
How about turkey? You don't have turkey out there.
We do have wild turkey. We have wild
Really?
turkey. We have bobwhite, called quail. Northern bobwhite quail. We have woodpeckers. We have these little things called brown-headed nuthatches. These little tiny brown birds, and they nest in pine trees, and they sound like a dog's squeaky toy when you hear them. So they only nest in very healthy pine forest, which we also have a lot of at the sanctuary.
Okay. One thing I notice in my neighborhood, it seems like at sunset or so, I see birds coming east, as if like they're going home or something.
Yep.
Is that what they really do?
Yeah. So they typically all these birds typically have some kind of roost, and we have a couple roosts at the sanctuary where the birds come at night. And so that's a place where they are generally safe from predators. They all hang out together. All these different species will come in, and they'll hang out in this one area overnight, and then in the morning they'll leave. And that's different from a rookery because a rookery is where they breed.
Okay. So a wood stork is one of the. Is that an endangered bird?
The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service actually just recently downlisted it. And and the story of wood storks is actually the story of Audubon, Florida, and corkscrew. So in the late 1800s, there was this fashion craze. It was for basically the plumes from these egrets and herons. Sorry.
That's a bird chirping, huh? That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
I even told myself I needed to mute this.
That's okay. I think it was no accident.
I've actually had birders I try to ID that species, and I said, no, that's my phone.
That's great.
Birders are funny. So yeah, in the late 1800s, there was this fashion trend of these women loved these bird plumes, and they're putting them in hats. People were actually putting entire dead birds on their heads. Wow. Crazy fashion thing at the time. An ounce of these feathers from these egrets, snowy egrets, great egrets, wood storks, roseate spoonbills, name all the egrets. An ounce of those feathers was worth more than an ounce of gold.
Wow.
And so these hunters would go into these rookeries at night because they have these things when they're breeding is when they have these plumes on. And the hunters would shoot out the entire colony in one night.
Wow.
And of course, when you shoot out the colony, they're on eggs, they're on chicks. And so everything in the colony dies. And so they're absolutely wiping them out. So they passed a law, passed a couple of laws trying to protect it, but there was no enforcement of it. So Audubon hired wardens all over the state of Florida to come and protect these rookeries. And there was actually one, the first one who became famous, unfortunately, was Guy Bradley. Guy Bradley was protecting these wading birds in the Florida Keys, and he was murdered. He was one of 3 Audubon wardens to be murdered for this.
Wow.
And because
they were so sought after, they would kill for that.
Because they were so sought after, and it became front page news. I actually have a headline from the Los Angeles Times, about Guy Bradley, and and it became all of a sudden it put pressure on the actually the market for it. And then we actually had one of those Audubon wardens was named Rhett Green, and he stayed at Corkscrew to guard the wood storks. At that time, there were thousands of wood storks nesting. So massive colony. And so these guys, he was willing to put his life on the line for these birds. And several actually did. And because of the outcry from the murder of Guy Bradley and all these things that happened, some of the first laws to protect birds in the U.S. were passed. And so because of that, I mean, Audubon's been doing work in Florida for 125 years. And so we have a long legacy. And so, wood storks is part of, even before Corkscrew was established as a sanctuary, Audubon was there protecting it.
Yeah. Wow. That's something I did not know that about our wildlife here, or even that existed, that people would kill for that.
Yeah. And actually some species, there's actually a couple species that haven't quite recovered still. And some of those big rookeries inland have never renested. They're just gone. They're completely wiped out.
So rookery, you said, is a nesting area.
Nesting area, yeah.
And there's Rookery Bay where you worked at before too. So what is Rookery Bay?
Yeah, Rookery Bay. I've had the thrill of working at several amazing places, but I was director of Rookery Bay for 7.5 years. Worked there for a total of over 10, and there was a rookery in the middle of this bay, and a very well-known rookery, so-called Rookery Bay. And so there was a movement to protect that area because at one time they were going to put this new road through Rookery Bay, basically to connect.
Which is where, by the way?
Rookery Bay, if you go down Collier Boulevard 951, just as you cross US 41, Rookery Bay's Learning Center is right there. And if you go, and basically from that point,
on the way to Marco?
On the way to Marco.
Okay.
From that point all the way to Marco, all of that is Rookery Bay, 110,000 acres.
Okay.
And so there was a road, which is going to be there's a big rally around it. Audubon, the conservancy was established around it, actually helped prevent the road to nowhere from being built. And so that was there in Rookery Bay. And so those rookeries are still there now.
How long ago was that?
That was, 45, 50 years ago now. I have to do the math. When I was there as director, we celebrated our 40th anniversary. So it's been a couple of years since that.
So what is the organization itself, and what does that organization do?
So Rookery Bay is it's actually a national estuarine research reserve, and it's managed by this agreement between the Florida Department of Environmental Protection and NOAA, which is the federal government National Oceanic and Atmospheric Agency. And so they fund Rookery Bay to do local research, to do local projects, to do protect local estuaries, education, all those things.
So you worked there.
I was director there.
Was that before here?
That was before Corkscrew.
Okay.
And I was very happy at Rookery Bay, but the chance to work at Corkscrew I just had to try.
Yeah.
It was kind of always a dream of mine. So
was it?
Yeah. So it's kind of surreal to work where I work.
Yeah. Well, it's such an incredible place. I mean, it really is such a part of why I love Florida so much.
Yeah, definitely.
What should people expect? Anybody who's never been there, what should they expect going to visit?
Yeah, so the first time you visit, you're going to go to our Blair Visitor Center, and there's admission prices. And I remind people that every dollar you spend at Corkscrew goes back to protecting the resource. So that's why we have admissions.
Called the Blair Resource Center.
The Blair Visitor Center.
Blair, is that because the Blair family?
Dorothy Blair family.
Dorothy Blair. She was a client here many years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes, I remember her well.
We have an endowment to this day which funds much of the operations of the Blair Center.
Is that right? Oh, that's awesome.
And actually, this past winter, we unveiled the new Sperlino Foundation Discovery Center. All new exhibits. It's amazing. We worked with a company from Ann Arbor, Michigan for almost 2 years on it, and it came out better than we could have expected. It's absolutely fantastic. Lots of hands-on stuff for kids, lots of wildlife in there, very well-written exhibits, that aren't too sciencey, get your interest, and you can actually play different bird calls. You can actually play, the sound of an alligator or a bobcat or a panther or a bear.
Wow.
And so we have this diorama. So that'll be the first thing you visit. And then you go out onto this magical boardwalk. And if you really have time, we have a 2.25 mile loop. If you don't have a lot of time, we have a 1 mile loop. And so basically that boardwalk is going to take you through several different habitats. It's going to take you through pine flatwoods, wet prairie, and then you go into the cypress forest, and then you get into the old growth cypress forest. And these are these big, massive trees. I mean, they are, you can't reach your arms around these trees. They're absolutely incredible. And, some of these trees are well over 500 years old. And they have, they are just full of life. They've got mosses on them. They've got lichens on them. They've got orchids on them. They've got mosses on them. And including our super ghost orchid, which is, probably the most famous ghost orchid in Florida. So it's a pretty amazing experience. Depending on what time of year, you're always going to see something different. So right now the water levels are getting low, so that you'll see some of the wading birds are coming in to feed in some of those areas. In the summertime, even though it's hot, it is really lush and green. It's basically rainforest.
Yeah.
And then in the fall, things get cooler. You have different birds coming through, our fall migrants. And then the wintertime, we have all our real snowbirds down here, which is our wintering birds.
Yeah.
And so, just the ability to see all these different things. And I think every time I go on the boardwalk, I see something new. And I've been there a few times. And we have volunteers who've been volunteering with us for 20 years. And, they're always excited, and they're still coming out, and they're still spending their time with us so that they can support our mission.
Yeah.
So we're just absolutely thrilled. So it's a great time. And then in the winter, we're open a little bit later. And then also in the winter, we also have our cafe, which is open. So you can go and you have lunch. You can go visit the Discovery Center again. And then, we always encourage people to get a membership, especially if you're a birder, if you're going to go out there more than a couple times a year. That's why I did it.
Oh, okay. So a membership is a pass like that?
Yeah, pass. Yeah. And you can go as many times as you want. And it's, we have a lot of folks who come in, they bring their families in all the time. Especially in March, we see lots of families down on spring break, and they're spending time with their kids. And, it's great to have kids get out and see this amazing place that we have.
One thing that surprised me, I think my wife and I went during the summer, and it was lush and beautiful. When I was in the shade, it's almost like it's the water's right there. So it's much cooler than I expected, because a lot of it is so covered, and, you just felt like it was in a tunnel.
It's basically those trees are creating a microclimate, that swamp. So in the wintertime, if it's cold, and it was actually kind of a cold winter this year. It really was. You could go in those mornings, you'd walk into the swamp, it was much warmer.
Oh, really?
And then the days like today, I go into the swamp, it's cooler.
Yeah.
And so it's that microclimate, which actually is so important to the health of those old cypress trees and all those plants, because those orchids and those mosses, they need that very specific microclimate with humidity is always balanced, and they're protected from freezing in that deep swamp. So it's very much a balance, and these plants have evolved to be there. And so, you've got trees on trees on trees in there.
If I remember correctly, I think that even some of the boardwalk is like built around the tree, like the tree's actually coming through the.
Yeah. There's a couple spots like that on the boardwalk. Yeah,
that was fascinating.
Yeah, it's really neat, but I just hope that tree doesn't fall down.
Yeah, right. Does that happen?
Actually, in 2017 with Hurricane Irma, the boardwalk was breached, I believe, in 9 or 10 different places. It was impacted very badly. And so if you go through the boardwalk, you can actually see some of those trees that actually were cut off the boardwalk, and you can see some of those big trees were cut. And Hurricane Irma actually made landfall 57 years to the day of Hurricane Donna, which also basically destroyed the Corkscrew Boardwalk.
Was it the same day?
Same day, 57 years to the day.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
I'm also very much a weather nerd, so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last bad one that really did so much. But yeah, I didn't realize 57 years to the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, just all these things bounce together to make the swamp an amazing place. Orchids are starting to bloom right now, different species. I saw some in flower last week. We have people who come out just to see the orchids.
And they're just throughout.
They're just, you basically look
just
off the
growing
boardwalk
wildly on their
you're
own.
going to see them, yeah. And there's multiple different species out there that are actually endangered species. So, it's one that we probably have some of the highest orchid diversity of any place in North America.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's really neat.
You can see just walking along the boardwalk there.
Yeah, Yep, you can see all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Alligators?
Oh, of course. We had one this winter that was on one island all winter long. I used to joke with tourists that I have our staff come out in the morning and actually put the alligator there. So it's a great place to see alligators. Depending on what time of year, You go out there for some of those cold days that they're not going to be up, because they're cold-blooded reptiles. So you'll see them different sizes. I've seen alligators well over 10 foot in there, and then you also see babies and everything in between. So alligators are an important part of the ecosystem. They keep everything healthy and in check.
Which part of the trail are they on, or where would I see that? Is there a particular area?
In the wet season, you can see them anywhere there's water.
Anywhere there's water.
But the area you see them probably the most is an area called Lettuce Lakes, and it's as you're exiting the boardwalk, there's this one area where it's very open, and it's like the grand finale of the Cypress Boardwalk experience, where you get to see the most birds, the most everything is right there in Lettuce Lakes.
Okay.
And so that's typically where you see alligators. Our staff saw the otters put on a show this
Otters,
year.
yeah.
Otters.
I love
We've
otters.
got baby barred owls are there this year.
Wow.
We've actually got baby black vultures, which are actually very cute.
Oh yeah.
Gotta stick up
cute,
for gotta stick up for black vultures. Their babies are really cute. And yeah, so great experience. People saw bear off the boardwalk this year. A couple of years ago, I actually have video of a bobcat just walking.
I love seeing a bobcat.
So yeah,
how cool is that?
And all kinds of amazing things. Someone actually behind was walking out of our visitor center about a month ago, and they looked, and there was a Florida panther sitting right there. So I got this amazing picture that we actually we shared on social media.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's your best chance to see a Florida panther, and it's not a. It's a tough chance, but you still see
It could
one.
happen, yeah.
It could happen, yeah.
So it's pretty exciting for you to go to work every day.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. I say corkscrews is never a dull moment. A lot of my, unfortunately as a biologist, the higher you get up, the more you sit in meetings and Zooms and emails and meetings. But every day I try to get out of the office. I try and at least go see the Discovery Center, go see, just go look at the boardwalk, just look at the space I'm in, because, I want to make sure that I stay connected, to the place and how important it is, because it's truly amazing.
What were you like as a child growing up? Was this world yours, being in Florida?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know anything else. Always wanted to be, I think I mentioned before, when I was a kid, people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, Jacques Cousteau.
Yeah.
And so, I always wanted to be some kind of, scientist or biologist. It was
You're always just messing with animals and lizards and just.
Yeah, I mean, snakes never fazed me. I was always, I was looking for turtles and frogs, I grew up in Cape Coral, and it was very different that many years ago.
Yeah.
And actually, burrowing owls were everywhere. And back then, the burrowing owls weren't the nice, friendly ones. They would actually dive bomb you on your bike when you
To
drove
protect
by.
them.
They're protecting their nest.
Yeah.
So me and my friends would have races, try to ride the bike past the burrowing owl without getting attacked. But I just remember always being, somewhere in, doing something in nature. There was a group that Bill Hammond had. It was called the Monday Kids. Went out 6 Mile Cypress Swamp. I went out there as a kid, and I was the only kid who was in the swamp and happy about it. I remember actually they had to pull me out because I was neck deep in the swamp, and I was like, this is so cool. Why would I want to go back to school?
That's great.
And so, it never fazed me. I was fishing a lot as a kid, spent a lot of time fishing. It was always something outside. And even today, it's the same thing. I'm fishing, I'm birding, I'm doing something outside, whenever possible.
What has changed over time around fishing and birding for all these years?
Birding, birding, it all depends on the year. What's going on as far as migration. This migration for us this year wasn't great because the winds were a little bit east, a lot east actually.
And how does that affect things?
So when these birds are, if you actually look at the Key West radar in April, you can actually, about 3 hours after sunset, you can actually see this massive, it looks like rain coming. It's not, it's birds. And they're heading across the Florida State.
Wow.
Florida Strait. And so depending on the wind direction, this year winds were very east. So those birds were coming up, they were being pushed out into the Gulf, which means they weren't landing in Collier County. Now, if we had more west winds or north winds, it tends to push them towards us and they'll land. And so they have a little bit better. So really,
the wind's coming across the state going that would push them off.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, and then, so it really depends on, the winds for that. So migration is always good. Audubon has seen a loss in birds over time. but birding is always fun. And then, fishing, I think the fishing is as good here as it ever has been. I mean, one thing I always say is that, fishing it's not just great, but it's a critical piece of the economy, right? Somebody comes down from New York, they book a fishing guide, they stay in our hotels, eat in our restaurants, and he wants to go out there and catch a snook or a tarpon.
Yeah.
And then especially if they release that fish, the guide has to pay his mortgage, and all that happens because you have a healthy ecosystem. So the 10,000 islands in our coast is very healthy, great fishery, so redfish, snook. I actually went out with a guide this summer, late this summer, and actually caught a legal snook, and actually was able to have grilled snook, and it was incredible.
Really, I didn't know you could do that anymore. I didn't know you could catch them on our dock. My father.
There's a real tight slot on them. I think it's like 20 to 31 inches, and only certain times a year.
Right.
And so I caught one that was right in the slot.
Nice.
And so that fish.
That was by far the best fish I remember growing up eating.
It still is. We had we ate that. My wife and I ate on that fish for a while.
Yeah, that's
so
nice.
It's so the fishing's still good down here. It's I think that's a credit to land conservation, and also making sure that we're protecting our inland land. So the water Corkscrew Swamp is very clean, and that water goes out to Wiggins Pass and Coquetcha River. And so if anyone was here in 2016, you remember guacamole algae, dead whale sharks. It was a nightmare of all the red tide, the toxic algae. And so we know we need clean water going to the coast. And that's what make areas like Corkscrew and the watershed so important, is that those are clean natural waters, and those waters going to the coast. And so Collier County has a lot of land conserved. I think I forget the percentage of it, but a lot of that conservation leads to clean water and leads to good fisheries, and also great habitat for things like birds coming through, panthers and all those things. So so we're really lucky down here that we have a lot of conservation lands, because it drives a huge piece of the economy.
I have to ask this question because I was never as good as my father, but he was great at snook fishing, and they're just so smart. I mean, they just seemed to know, like they could see the line. And he had this dock that he had this light off our dock in Vanderbilt Beach where I grew up, and just, he just would go out to the dock and say, "Come on down," and we'd see the snook out there just popping. But it was so hard to actually, because they're smart. They just
and they have to be in the mood. And you can drop a live shrimp right in front of them. And sometimes they're not going to eat it.
Yeah, and
then there's other times where you toss a bait fish into a hole, and as soon as it hits, the snook is on it. So they're always a challenging fish to catch and find. Redfish are a little more reliable. Redfish are like, they're like their stomachs. They're just like moving stomachs that they will eat a lot. And so I've caught a lot more redfish in my life than I have snook.
Yeah, never have caught redfish. I always like eating it. Like
it's a great eating fish.
Yeah,
definitely.
I just don't see it as much. Yeah. Who had a big influence on you growing up?
The fact that my parents had me, involved in science, and they got me National Geographic magazine, and they let me be, a kid who was interested in science, I think was really important. Some of my role models growing up, were, some of the TV stars, some of the guys on, National Geographic and things like that. So those were always bigger influences. I remember actually one of my favorite wildlife people was actually Steve Irwin, because he was so enthusiastic about wildlife. And I just always, I was, just how excited he got people. And then so a variety of influences, I had some great teachers, growing up, but, I was an only child. So I got to kind of, explore, and had a chance to be a kid in Southwest Florida.
Yeah, I'm sure teachers love the fact that you were interested in science or interested in what
they were
teaching.
I was generally most times the only kid interested in science. Yeah. Which doesn't make you very popular, but it kind of worked out for me. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I'm grateful for that. I'm glad it worked out like that.
Yeah.
What would you say, going back to your days being raised, what has changed the most in Southwest Florida that you've seen? What do you miss?
Growth and development. Yeah. This town, there's times I don't recognize it.
Right.
I've been on a Immokalee Road a few times, and I'm listening to an audiobook or something, and I realize I'm not sure I know where I am because things have changed so
Suddenly
much.
there's a whole building that went up in a week. Yeah,
exactly.
The walls are up.
And you look at, this development is increasing. And so, that's the one thing I noticed. Growing up in Cape Coral, there's a place in Fort Myers called Bell Tower Shops. Mm-hmm. I remember when they built it, we always said, why are they putting something way out there? Yeah. You can't even find Bell Tower in the middle of Fort Myers now.
Right.
And basically 41, once you left that part of Fort Myers, there
was nothing to Nothing all the way down to
Crushing State Park, and that's it.
You had to go to Pine Ridge Road before you saw something else again.
Yeah, and so that's been the biggest thing. Is everybody loves Florida, and they want to move here, and so that's also a challenge that in conservation that we have to deal with on a regular basis is how you can have growth and you can have people move here and still find a way to have a balanced ecosystem. And that's not easy, but we're doing everything we can.
Are your parents still here?
My mother passed away a couple of years ago. My dad lives in Bonita Springs, actually. Yeah. So just actually saw him this weekend. So dad's still around.
Yeah. What was your mother's name?
Mother's name was Sharon.
Sharon. Yeah. How would she describe you?
Oh, well, she'd be crazy proud of me, I'm sure. She's just happy I'm a scientist. And, I took them out, several places I work, and I got to see, Rookery Bay, and I got to see these other places. And they were just like always thrilled because, I turned out to be a biologist, and so they're, took them out when I was working on Fort Myers Beach. I was working with beach nesting birds, snowy plovers. And so I took them out to see the snowy plovers. And so, they were always thrilled. And so that's just always been a theme.
And not just a biologist, a very successful biologist too. On top of that,
yeah, thanks. Yeah, I'm not sure how it all happened, but I'm pretty thrilled with how it kind of ended up.
Yeah,
so it's very, very surreal sometimes if I because thinking about Corkscrew and when I was a younger scientist, the director of Corkscrew was just like bigger than life guy, Ed Carlson, literally bigger than life.
Ed Carlson.
Ed Carlson. He just passed away. But to think that I now have Ed Carlson's job is very interesting, and so, so it definitely keeps you humble, because you know that I'm there to, help protect this place and to, help support my staff to do their job. And then to support, all the work that we're doing, we've got all these volunteers and donors who are supporting our mission. And so, you have to make sure that you're honoring everything that they're doing by working as hard as you can to help protect this place for now and into the future too.
Yeah. Well, they must feel good about having such a great, passionate steward at the helm for their
it's nice. Actually, I worked for the government for 25 years before coming to the nonprofit sector. And it took a little while to untrain my brain from government thinking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of...
I can't even imagine. I know.
I can't... Actually, one of the funniest moments was we were at a workshop for this developer, and they're having this big subdivision that they're building, and the president of development was there. And I was talking to my friend. She worked at the DEP, and I was at Corkscrew. I think I'd been there all of 6 months. And I was like, wow. And she goes, there's the president of the development. You can go tell him what you think. And I said, I can. And I went up and I was very, very firm, polite, but like, hey, these are all the impacts you're going to have. And it was an interesting experience because that's the kind of thing you can't say it with government. You have to be very careful, very calculated. But now I can truly advocate on behalf of the ecosystem. We can work with our policy folks to try to make a difference in how these things are planned. And so that we, have places for panthers to continue to coexist with us. And so coming from government side, it turns out that when you work for the government, you figure out how to get things done because there's lots of ways around things. Yeah. And so it just makes you more creative when you come to the nonprofit sector, which is very different.
Yeah.
But it's
freeing.
It is very freeing. Yeah. It like I said, it took a while to unwind some of those habits, but it's nice being able to say what you think, and to say what you think. And, as long as it's backed up by science, it's backed up by policy, those kind of things, and actually be able to make a difference in what you say and how you advocate for it.
If you weren't doing this, what would you be doing?
Meteorologist.
Really? That's your backup.
Would have had to change my degree path, but as growing up as a kid, I was always fascinated with hurricanes. I used to have my hurricane tracking chart as a kid, and so I would either be this or the other dream would have been being a hurricane hunter would be the other thing. So.
Jim Cantor,
Just to be able to fly a plane into the middle of a hurricane.
Oh, really? Fly a plane into it?
I would. If I ever got a chance to do that, I would jump at it in a split second.
Really?
It'd just be incredible. Yeah.
Wow. You mentioned listening to an audiobook, Audible. What books, podcasts are you listening to these days?
So I'm big into like action stuff. I'm a Tom Clancy guy. I'm a big fan of that stuff. Actually, just started the new Dan Brown book that everybody's talking about, The Secret of Secrets. One of my favorite audiobook of all time is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is incredible audiobook.
Yeah.
I just go back and I listen to it all the time.
Yeah.
Michael Crichton stuff, that's generally my kind of thing.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So it's so rich and so full of so much because I'm trying to work my way through it on the Audible book. And I love the narrator too. It's so great.
Yeah.
How would you describe that to somebody?
You can't. And I remember as a kid, I would see these books. They were Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. They were in the science section, but they weren't science because I was always buying science books.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to do with them. And then I finally heard the audiobook and I went, oh, this is incredible. And so, I always go back and I love to hear us about Zaphod Beeblebrox and, hopefully he'll run for president this next year coming up.
I mean, Elon Musk had talked about it so much, how influential it was on his life and how it made a big difference for him.
It's a fun audiobook and it's nice to just kind of decompress and be in a story for a while.
Yeah.
To turn the brain off and on in a different way.
Yeah. But it's got so many symbolic things to it, right? Like so many interesting
so long.
Parallels.
Thanks for all the fish.
Yeah. That's cool. What about what's on your music playlist?
Music, I tend to be I've always been kind of a rock guy, so I tend to listen to rock and hip hop. That's basically my playlist. Also alternative, it's I always try to get into new stuff. Pretty kind of set in my Pandora channel. I'm always fine tuning it, but groups like Foster the People and Tame Impala and groups like that.
Tame Impala, I like Tame Impala.
Fantastic,
love them.
Fantastic, yeah.
So listening yesterday.
Those are definitely my kind of groups. I love that kind of music. So actually I love Rob Zombie.
Oh yeah,
so,
awesome.
Occasionally got to have some metal.
Awesome, yeah. So Pandora serves you. See, second person that's mentioned that to me today because, I don't like Spotify's serving list or what they think I like.
Yeah.
But I remember having Pandora, and Pandora kind of served more of what I.
Yeah, and then I've got sub channels set up in Pandora for different things. I've got the the zombie channel.
Yeah.
I've got like Foster the People. And then I've got my general playlist.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Beastie Boys 1 minute, and then Foster the People the next minute, and then De La Soul the next. Just driving here
Awesome.
today. I was listening to music, trying to get pumped up. So.
That's great because I'm building a playlist of a Spotify playlist of our guests and their musical tastes. So now I have a new genre, a new kind of version of what your playlist is for us. And I love Tame Impala. Everybody said Beastie Boys. All about,
I grew up with and it's kind of crazy. When one of the Beastie Boys are actually dying,
I know.
So I'm
That's
wow.
tragic. How could they be?
Yeah, I'm like, how am I this old that my rock stars are
Yeah,
dying?
yeah. What's that about? How could that be?
I know.
That really shook me.
Yeah.
Recently when because I still see them as when I first saw them. I don't see them any other way.
Exactly.
They didn't age like me. They're not supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Adulting is overrated.
Yeah, right. Do you have a hidden talent?
Nothing hidden. Definitely birding is my talent, and that's something that you have to put a lot of time in to get. Anybody can bird, So there's people who think, there's all these different warblers, like you were talking about, these different colors. So there's this app called Merlin, and you can basically put it out and it will ID birds by their call. And you can take a picture of a bird and you can ask Merlin what it is.
It's an app called Merlin.
It's an app called Merlin.
Okay.
It's free. And so it can ID birds by their call. And so, but that also helps ID them by what they look like. And so, that's a talent that, it's not hidden, but that's one I've worked on for a long time. And I'm always trying to get better. We're headed to Costa Rica next month on a birding trip, actually. So gonna see some more birds, So, and then I don't think I have any other hidden talents. I don't have any music talent at all. When I was in third grade, I remember I was trying to play the recorder, and my music teacher just came up and she said, "Some people aren't meant to play music." So I took that as a sign to like, okay, let's just be a science guy.
State of science.
Yeah. So,
what was your? We got a cappuccino here, but do you have a go-to coffee drink?
That's it. And yeah, in our house we always have fresh ground coffee. Which, you take for granted until you go to a hotel room and then you have their stuff. And so, but yeah, I got to have my 2 cups of coffee in the morning. Yeah. Cappuccino, it's always a bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. But coffee is great. I'm looking forward to the coffee in Costa Rica too.
Oh yeah. They have real coffee there.
Yeah. And chocolate covered coffee beans is like a national thing down there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been?
We went, my wife and I went for our honeymoon. I was not a birder yet. And so I really regret, missing a lot of stuff, but it's an amazing country. The people are wonderful. The sites are amazing. The food is incredible. And it's really, Costa Ricans say it's pure vida, pure life. And so it's a really neat place. And so can't wait to see, there's potential 500 lifers for me, birds down there.
How many?
500 life species I could potentially see. Wow. I doubt I'll see 500. I'll be happy with 300.
Merlin is the name of the app?
Merlin's the name of the app.
All right, because my wife and I, when we walk through the neighborhood, there's a couple birds that sing to us that just seems like they're on cue and always standing at the top of a tree branch. And I never knew I could do that. That's really cool that I could play the record the audio.
It's very, very, very accurate. I had a bird fly over me, and it was calling. Last year I was on the boardwalk, and it was a call I didn't readily recognize, and I had Merlin played, and it was a Kentucky warbler. It was a call I had never heard from a Kentucky warbler, so that was a new call to me because a lot of these warblers don't necessarily sing or call down here when they're moving through, and so that's the first time I'd ever heard that. So if it wasn't for Merlin, I would not have, because I saw the bird, it was yellow, but I couldn't pull the trigger on what it was until Merlin's like, that's what that was with the call. So it's pretty cool.
What's something people should know about Corkscrew?
Right now, I think is a very transformative time for Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary. We're in this big watershed restoration project, Corkscrew Watershed Initiative. We're also in the middle of this $20 million capital campaign. We're just shy of $17 million. And we have all our state...
You got 3 to go.
Yeah, I got 3 to go.
Okay.
Got all the state permits in hand. Should have county approval any day. We've got been working with a very talented team of architects, engineers, consultants. We're bringing on our general contractor now, and so we're getting ready for building permits, and we are going to be breaking ground this summer. And what that is going to do is so for 72 years we've been putting all our money into the resource, right, to the point where we don't have a laboratory. Our laboratory is a couple tables and a couple microscopes in a rented office trailer. So it's hard for us to really do our kind of work. Our dormitory is actually, it's called the Gator Hole, and it looks like it sounds. It totally does. If you're in your 20s, you really don't care, but we need to be able to have spaces that, actually allow us to grow our capacity. Have an outdoor classroom, and so we're going to have these buildings, dormitories, new laboratory space. Office space, we can actually get there and collaborate with others, new meeting spaces that we don't have. This outdoor classroom, which will be great. So the kids can come in there in the winter when the weather's nice, you can open it up. In the summer, you close it up, it'll be air conditioned. And so it'll be a really transformative project, about 30,000 square foot. And so this is an amazing project, and I'm thrilled to be here at Corkscrew while this is happening. It's actually one of the reasons I took the job.
It's exciting. It's awesome it's our own form of Disney World in our own backyard in a way that we really need more of that than digital enhancement.
Yeah, and so one of the big things with us is that, like Rookery Bay, what you want to have is a research facility on site with dormitories. And so if you have a visiting researcher coming down, I love our Naples hotels, but if you have a grant from the National Science Foundation, you probably don't want to spend $350 a night in Naples. So they're going to stay in our dormitories.
Oh, great.
They'll do research work in our laboratory. And then when they publish and share that research, we will have supported that work. And that means us taking them out in the field on these equipment to be able to work in these pristine ecosystems. And so it's really an investment for all of Southwest Florida
That's awesome.
we definitely sorely need, and it's just an exciting time. Our local architect, David Corbin, he's done several nonprofit capital campaigns, and so the building designs are very inspired, very Florida. We're keeping it very Florida, very sustainable.
Are there renderings of it on the website?
Yeah, we do have renderings of it.
Okay,
Yep.
good. So we can pop that in. Zach can pop that in.
Solar powered. We are aiming for LEED certification, and that's basically a green building certification of gold at this point. And so, and then sustainable. Something that of course, we talked about hurricanes, but you need to have a building where basically when a hurricane comes, I just want to turn the key, lock the door, and walk away.
Yeah.
So it'll be resilient. It'll be built above the floodplain, and it's also being built in areas that have been disturbed at Corkscrew. So if you've been there for 72 years, you've had sheds go up, sheds go down, parking areas come in, parking areas go out. So all the areas we're building in are already disturbed. And so we're not touching a single inch of wetlands. And we designed it very intentionally so we wouldn't do that. And so it's going to be a net benefit for everybody, and it's going to be it's just going to be an amazing place. And so that'll be starting this summer. And so hopefully 12 to 18 months for construction. And it's a really exciting and a little bit scary time.
So like early 28?
Should be hoping. Yeah. Let's hope everything works out. We don't have any storms or any other emergencies or anything else come up.
Exciting.
But it's really exciting. And when I was considering applying for Corkscrew, somebody showed me this capital campaign. It scared me. And professionally, anytime I've been professionally scared, I've done it. If something scares me, I go for it. And so, and we have donors who've just been supporting us and supporting. This thing actually started in the fall of 2019.
Wow.
In hindsight, how would you know what would happen in the next 12 months in 2019, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting very close to the finish line. It's so important for Southwest Florida. The state of Florida actually invested $5 million into it. So we got an appropriation sponsored by Senator Pasadoma and Representative Mello, who do a great job for us here in Collier County.
That's awesome.
And so that appropriation is actually helping us, build some of these buildings. And so it's absolutely incredible that we're able to work with the state of Florida supporting what we do.
I'm really looking forward to it. I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, me too. I can't wait.
Whatever we can do as a business to support you, if you have fundraisers or anything that you do, or you want to acknowledge people. Oh yeah, we can give you gift bags or anything like that. We're here for you.
Definitely will take you up on that.
Please.
Yeah, because as you know, fundraising is a challenge, and people think we're way out there. Well, we're not way out there anymore.
Not anymore.
Town is coming to Naples.
No, we're creeping up on you.
And I think it's it's an amazing opportunity. I mean, we've been part of this community for 72 years, and so so when you raise funds, we're putting those funds right back to work into our community, into the ecosystem, into education. And we've got 3,000 kids a year coming through. Corkscrew, and we've got 80,000 visitors a year. These people are visiting to see this amazing place, and some of these kids have never been to Corkscrew Swamp Sanctuary. So we love being able to be inclusive and have lots just opportunities for the public and kids. And I think that's the other big part of the capital campaign is being able to expand what we do for our education programs too. And so it's a very, like I said, exciting time.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for the heart. And thank you for your passion in what you do, because I think it opens up a lot for us in our community. It's something that we need.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's Having worked for government, my whole, and on my mother's side, the whole family was like firefighters and cops, so I always considered working in the government as public service.
Yeah.
And I kind of consider what I do now as kind of public service
100%,
too.
100%.
And I'm a biologist, but I mean, what we're doing is for the community, you know, and what everybody's doing out at Corkscrew and, all the folks in my field out there, whether at the state park or national wildlife refuge, it's truly something that we're protecting for our community. And Collier County, we're really lucky in Southwest Florida too, that there's, so much land set aside for conservation. We always hope we can do more, but I think we're doing pretty well overall. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
My final question.
Yes.
What do you love about your life?
I'm trying to think about that one. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. I think I'm in a really good place in life. I'm just happy where I am right now. Happy to, have adventures with my wife. We're going to go to Costa Rica a couple of years. We're looking to go to New Zealand. So getting to that stage in life where I think I'm in my 50s now, which I never thought I would be in my 50s. That just happened to other people. And so I think I'm more appreciative of where I am and where I'm going, and so, that's what I like about it right now. And I'm actually planning for retirement, which I never thought would happen. Yeah. I've got more years behind me than in front of me. Yeah. And so, just being in, being a Floridian, born and raised in Southwest Florida and being able to, continue to give back and just be in this amazing place. And so, yeah. And I mean, I'm so thrilled to have the opportunity to talk to you. This is fun. I've never really thought about some of this stuff, but, yeah, I mean, there's lots of good stuff going on, try to have fun, but also work hard and, try to not take everything too seriously. Yeah. That's been great. I really, what's so infectious about is your passion for what you do, and to see that for all the years you've been doing it, and to see it's just as fresh as if you just were day one. So it's really inspiring to see. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Well, thank you for doing this for the community. I think this is great. Thrilled to be here. So thank you for the opportunity. Absolutely. We're blessed. We live in paradise. And, we do. We definitely do. Celebrate the good. And, definitely. Thanks, Zach. You got a good one here. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.